Honestly, over the last few years, wrestling and Hollywood have become more connected than ever. We've seen people like Dwayne Johnson, John Cena, and Batista go from wrestling rings to major movie roles. And in some cases, they became even bigger stars outside WWE than they were inside it. And recently, I started thinking about something. Could Rhea Ripley actually be the next WWE superstar to make that jump into Hollywood? Because the more you look at her presentation, the more it feels like she already has qualities that go beyond wrestling. And honestly, that's not something you can say about everyone. Rhea doesn't just look different, she feels different. The look, the confidence, the intensity, the way she speaks, even the way she walks to the ring. Everything about her presentation feels extremely intentional, almost cinematic sometimes. Which is interesting because Hollywood usually looks for people who instantly stand out on screen. And Rhea definitely has that kind of presence. The strange thing is that she already feels less like a traditional wrestler and more like a character that could exist in an action movie or a dark sci fi universe. And yeah, that might sound exaggerated at first, but when you really think about it, it actually makes sense. Another huge factor is her popularity. Over the last few years, Rhea has become one of the biggest names in WWE. Even people who don't follow wrestling closely still recognize her instantly. That kind of recognition matters a lot in entertainment. Studios love people who already have a fan base, especially when they also have a strong visual identity. And Rhea absolutely has that. I could genuinely see her fitting into action films, darker fantasy projects, maybe even something similar to the kind of roles we've seen in modern comic book movies. But at the same time, making the jump from wrestling to acting is way harder than people think. Like, way harder. Because being entertaining in a wrestling promo is very different from carrying an actual movie scene. A lot of wrestlers have tried acting before, but only a small number truly succeeded long term. And honestly, Batista is probably one of the best examples of how to do it correctly. What made Batista work wasn't just his size or popularity, it was the fact that he actually took acting seriously. He improved over time, accepted smaller roles at first, and slowly proved that he could become a believable actor instead of just a wrestler in a movie. And I think that's exactly where things would get interesting for Rhea, too. Because her biggest challenge probably wouldn't be getting opportunities, it would be separating herself from the Rhea Ripley wrestling persona, which, if we're being real, is not easy at all. For a wrestler to truly succeed in Hollywood, audiences need to stop seeing the performer and start seeing the character they're playing. That transition is difficult for almost everyone. Another thing people forget is timing. Right now, Rhea is still one of WWE's biggest stars, and her momentum is incredibly strong. Leaving that behind, even temporarily, could be risky. WWE's schedule is also brutal, and acting isn't something you casually jump into overnight. It takes training, connections, auditions, and honestly, a lot of patience. But personally, I actually think Rhea has a better chance than most wrestlers who try to enter Hollywood. Not just because she's famous, but because she already has that larger than life presence that cinema tends to love. There's something about her energy that already feels cinematic before she's even stepped into a major movie role. Now, whether she actually wants that future is a completely different question. Because not every wrestler dreams about Hollywood. Some people genuinely prefer staying in wrestling and building their legacy there. But if Rhea Ripley ever seriously decides to explore acting one day, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised at all if she succeeds. But now I want to know what you think. Do you actually see Rhea Ripley becoming a movie star in the future? Or do you think she belongs in WWE full time?